So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Q&A. As always, if you want to get your question answered, very simple. All you have to do is hit that post notification, and somewhere randomly within the week, I'll go ahead and do a little Q&A post. And all you have to do is just make sure that you comment within the first 2 hours, and I'll be selecting some of the questions. So first question is, when is the proper watch collection video coming out where you show us in detail your watches and also how you buy them, etc.? Been waiting for this since ages. Your last one was good, but we need that update, bro. I get this question all the time. And ladies and gents, like, I haven't really been in London ever since December. And the thing that you need to understand is, most of my watches, all of my watches are in the vault, and all of my watches are in safety deposit boxes. So like, even if I'm in London, to have all my watches in one place, never happens, right? Because all of them are in the safety deposit boxes for insurance purposes and just general safety purposes, etc. So at any given time, I probably only have like 1 or 2 watches on me. So it's a big pain in the neck. And because of insurance, if I wanted to get all of my watches in the same place, I have to let the safety deposit, I have to let the place know. It basically comes in a guarded vehicle or a van. I've never done it, but they've run me through the process. And basically it comes, and I might have it in my house for like a day. It's a whole process. To get my entire collection in one place is a process, as I said, because of insurance, because of the safety deposit box, basically for safety reasons. So, that matched with the fact that I haven't been in London really. Sorry, my Slack's going off in the background. I haven't really been in London since December. So, with that being said, that's why I haven't really come out with a watch collection video. So once I'm back in London properly, I will try to I will eventually make an effort and get all my watches in one place for a day. I will make an effort to get all my watches in one place so I can do a full watch collection video for you guys. So don't worry, that'll be coming soon. Next question is, what's your 20 to 30 year plan for IAG Media? Very simple. Just keep growing it slow and steady. I mean, over the past few years, we've already kind of carved out our space, and I feel as though we do have a very stellar reputation. And that's the beautiful thing with having an agency is, as an agency, past 3-4 years, honestly, I'm not to say that this is a good game plan, but you can genuinely just survive off of referrals and the fact that you've made a name for yourself. I always use this analogy. With a doctor, there's no doctor who's less in demand after 20 years in the trade than they are after 5 or 10 years, right? And the same thing with an agency. With agency life, things just get better and better because you're more and more well known. Old clients give you referrals, new clients give you referrals, your name is out there, you have more case studies, etc. So the goal in 20 or 30 years, I think, is eventually to open up an office. I don't think it's a smart thing to do. Opening up an office would have nothing to do with financially, because I know that I could run, if I have 10 media buyers, I'm confident that we could do 600 to 800, potentially even $1 million, 600 to 800,000 pounds a month profit with 10 media buyers, and I can manage that all remotely. 10 media buyers, obviously I've got Danny as the CMO already, a general manager, that whole operation, I know that I could get to 600 to 800K. I could get to 600 to 800K a month profit. And I think that is the goal within the next 20, 30 years, is get that business to $1 million a month profit while still staying super lean and efficient. But I'd like to have an office just for the cultural aspect of it. So I guess we'll see. But the thing is, with an office is then you're limited in terms of talent. Obviously for the agency, my CMO is in Colombia and my other media buyer is in Brazil. I scoured all over the world, and at my agency I have the best of the best, and we attract the best of the best talent. So I don't think I would want to be chained in or locked in, geographically. So yeah, that's kind of the plan. My agency will always continue to be my cash flow business. It will always be my steady, I almost look at my agency kind of like having a property portfolio worth 10 million, because it produces the same amount of cash flow for me a year as someone with a property portfolio worth 10 million. It's that thing. I've always said it's my fun money. It's my FU money. And I will continue from next year. The plan is take 80 to 90% of my profits from the agency monthly and use that to invest in real estate. So that's kind of where my agency will continue to grow, and then that'll feed the real estate portfolio. But agency specific, I don't ever want to get to a point where I have like 50 or 100 employees. That just sounds like a genuine nightmare. So if we could get to a point where we have a team of 8 to 14 people, and we're doing at least $500,000 a month in profit, that's where I want to get to over the next 20, 30 years. Honestly, 20, 30 years is a long time. I'd say probably at least $1 million a month. I'd say actually probably at least $1 million a month profit. And also, side little note, once we get to the point where we're doing $1 million a month profit, so around 10 to 12 million a year in profit, that is, you can compare that to a business doing around 50 to 75 million a year in revenue. That it's similar sort of scales in terms of because I'm speaking in profit, and then those other businesses would be in revenue. So there are very, very few businesses out there that actually make very, very few businesses out there that make over 8 figures a year in profit. Really, you're a unicorn business if you do that. Next question is, what do you think is a good niche to get into at this point with the economy being as bad as it is due to everything that's going on in the world? Well, one thing you need to understand is the economy is not doing bad at all. It's funny because obviously, yes, GDP is down, but all in all, most business owners aren't really hurting. That's the thing in 2020, because of all of the stimulus and all of the injection and all of the propping up by government, honestly, the economies are fine. Yes, there was 2-3 months where restaurants were closed, gyms were closed, this, that, but everything is back to normal at this point. So at least in 2020, you don't need to worry about it. I think there will be a bit of hurt in 2021. I think inevitably there will be a recession in 2021, 2022, et cetera. But I've said this before, me personally as a business owner outside of the agency with education company and the clothing line, I'm looking at my line items every single month, and I'm looking at, what is a liability, what's an expense, what is a net neutral, and then what is actually making me money, and what's an asset to the business. And that's the thing, as a business owner, you never cut the things that make you money. So, in terms of industry, get into whichever one you want. Obviously, in different parts of the world, things like tourism are affected, and also specifically in different countries. And, use some common sense as to what is open and what will probably remain and stay open over the next few months, years, et cetera. And then from there, plow forward with full confidence, knowing that, as a business owner, as I said, me personally with the other businesses, there are things where I'm like, realistically, I don't really need this thing for the business. And then there's things where I'm like, this thing quite evidently, quite clearly makes me money. So why would I ever get rid of it? And with that knowledge in mind, move forward with full confidence. Next question is, what helped you get mature and move forward in life at such a young age? Also, how were you able to build decent relationships with older, more experienced, and pretty much well-established people such as Kieran, your product manager? So what helped me get mature and move forward in life at such a young age? I don't think I really had an option in that. I don't think I really had a say in that. And that was just kind of my childhood, which is my childhood was a very weird, I had an eclectic childhood where I had this weird thing where, obviously never met my biological father. I grew up in Russia for the first 4 years of my life, single mom, 23, working, 3 jobs, then moving to London and having this weird thing where I went to my mom married my stepdad. So I went to private school, and I was in a expensive area in London, but then, things kind of fell apart. And by the age of 11, 12, my mom and I were basically cut off financially. But I was still going to private school. And by the age of 14, 15, there was no warm water in my house. There was no heating in my house. There was no internet in my house. I'm so grateful for my childhood because yes, I had a lot of trauma and I had a lot of stuff that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And I just saw and experienced things that I don't think any child should go through. And I had a very, 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 very difficult childhood. And, all my peers and my friends always joke. They're like, I don't know how you're not more fucked up. And, I'm sure, there's past trauma and there's past stuff that later down the line will come up and simmer, and still to this day does simmer and come up. But I was very lucky because I kind of had wealth around me because I went to private school, but I had none of it myself. So I would go to private school and all my friends were very wealthy. And then I'd come back home to my mom, who was, bless her, considering everything that she'd gone through, emotional abuse, physical abuse, everything in between, in 2 different marriages. To be honest, I'm surprised. I'm, in the same way people look at me and they're surprised I'm still fully functioning. I look at her, I'm like, I don't know how you are still a functioning person who smiles and has faith in humanity, considering just the horrific things that she was put through. So yeah, it was weird. I had a weird childhood, as I said, where there was wealth around me, and then I come home and, it was, I came home to a broken home in many senses, and literally the fact that one of the walls was caving in, and came home to a mom who bless her, and bless her was just having to fight her own demons, and I think still very much is. And just being 14, 15, 16, coming home knowing that we're on government benefits, it was very sobering and it was very eye-opening. So that's the thing. You guys can't replicate that. And I wouldn't wish on any of you guys, have a ridiculously fucked up childhood where, you go through tons of trauma and you go through unspeakable things, and that, you can't really replicate that. I don't really ever try to recommend things to you guys that you can't replicate personally. Outside of that, the main thing I did was I read a lot. I started reading a book a week when I was 14, and even prior to that, I'd be like 7 or 8 years old, reading Mayor of Casterbridge and all the Dickens work. And I read a lot of literature when I was in my younger years, and then which for me is like fiction I don't really care about, to be honest. But instead I'd be 14 reading Atlas Shrugged, reading Fountainhead, and those books are almost 1,000 pages long, and I'd be reading more importantly a lot of these nonfiction books, a lot of self-help books, a lot of books about spirituality, a lot of books on finance, a lot of books on real estate, a lot of books on all this stuff. And I'd say really for me, that's how I got that mature side of me, or from a very young age, is I said a lot of trauma growing up and being forced to grow up, and then outside of that, reading a lot genuinely really helped. Reading a lot, and from the age of 14 I've been meditating. So I don't know, I feel as though when you meditate, especially from a young age, you become very, very grounded energetically. So that answers that question. Now, in terms of your question of how have I built a lot of relationships with people older than me and whatnot, I don't know. I just don't think age is really a thing. And yeah, I'd say, most of my team is older than me. For example, Kieran, he's turning 26 actually in a week. But I have most of my team is in their 20s, some are early 30s. So obviously that's kind of a weird dynamic because I'm 20. I don't know, age just really isn't a thing. I don't really view it as a thing. But I definitely do have a lot of older, very, very successful in their own fields. Whether that be I have friends who are just absolute spiritual badasses, and then I have friends who are, tycoons and real estate and property badasses, and kind of everything in between. And I just make a lot of those connections, even though I'm really not a fan of networking. I don't ever do it proactively. And we just resonate with each other because I feel as though people, as they get older into their life, there's that grounded energy they have. So yeah, I'd kind of say that's mainly why I get along with older people a lot, is we just kind of have that similar sort of energy. Last question is, out of all the places you've traveled and things you've seen, what is your favorite place and why? Very interesting question. So I'd say if I want to heal and if I want to just relax and just decompress and take some time, then I'll come to Iceland, where I am right now. If I want to party and have some fun and just have some memorable experiences, then I'll go to Bali. For me personally, I prefer partying in Bali rather than Saint-Tropez or Mykonos or Marbella or something like that. Partying in Europe, I don't know, I just don't think it's as fun as Bali. I like, especially if I'm abroad, I just want to feel free. And yeah, I don't know, Bali gives me that. Bali gives me that. The partying in Bali isn't crazy, and it's not bottle service and the stuff I'm used to in London, but I enjoy that. I find something endearing about it. So yeah, that's that. And then if I want to just, if I was to go for a place for a month and have a very well balanced holiday, but then also get some work done, I think I'd probably do Cape Town. Now, in terms of places I still want to go to, I really want to go to Japan. And just see all of their film camera stores there. And I also really want to go to Hawaii as well. Obviously, I kind of want to travel all around the world and see a bunch of other places, but those are the ones that are kind of come to mind in terms of my bucket list. So yeah, ladies and gents, that pretty much wraps it up for this Q&A. As always, the giveaway winner for Gadzhi is down in the description. If you want to be drawn in to win, just make sure you turn on post notifications, comment within the first 2 hours, and you'll be automatically drawn in. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one.